In this video, I want to show you how to reflect a figure across a slanted line because it's very easy to reflect across the x-axis or across the y-axis. But with slanted lines, it could be a little trickier. Now, the idea that's going to help us do this is understanding that whenever we reflect a point across a line and we place the new point and we connect those 2 points together with a line segment, the line that we reflected over becomes what's called a perpendicular bisector for that line segment, which means perpendicular lines are lines that create right angles, 90-degree angles, and bisector means that this line would cut the new line segment perfectly in half. So that's the idea we're going to use to reflect these points across line L. So let's go ahead and start off with point A, and the idea that's going to help us with that, again, is the idea of perpendicular lines. So we're going to use this protractor, and I have here the vertex point. You see I have crosshairs. Well, these crosshairs are perpendicular. So I'm going to use that to help me line up with my line L and make sure that I have the crosshairs lined up nicely here. And I'm going to line up the edge of the protractor with point A, and then I'm going to draw my line segment. Now, I didn't get it perfect, but I got it close enough. Now remember, like I said, this line becomes a perpendicular bisector for this line segment. So in order to figure out where A prime goes, I need to measure the distance from A to line L, right? So I noticed that it intersects pretty much right here, and I could use the ruler side of the protractor to measure that. But I can also use the grids to count. What does that mean? So if I look here at point A, and I count steps to move to get to this point here, I'm going to move down 2 steps and to the right 1 step. So I'm going to do that again, move down 2 steps and to the right 1 step, and now I have found the location of A prime. So I'm going to mark that in blue, and I'm going to label that A prime. And I can take my protractor and measure my line segment to make sure that it is perpendicular, and it is. All right, so let's go ahead and do point B. My problem is that this protractor is a little too small, so I'm going to use this one. Now this one actually broke on me, but it doesn't matter because if I look at all the markings on the ruler side along the edge, all of those markings are perpendicular as well. So I could use any of those lines, and I'm going to line it up with line L, and then I'm going to line up here with point B, and I'm going to make sure it's perpendicular and draw my line. Again, the better job you do lining these up, the easier this becomes. I can see that this line segment intersects here. And in order to count the distance from B to this point, I can count the grid markings. So to get from B to this point, I have to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the right 2. So now I'm going to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the right 2. And this is the location of B prime. Now C is easy because since C is on line L, when I reflect it, it's going to stay there. So C prime is also here. Now all I have left to do is to connect these points together. From A prime to B prime. And from B to C. And so here is our pre-image of triangle ABC reflected over line L, giving us the image of triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. And again, remember the guiding concept here is that this line segment from A to A prime has a perpendicular relationship to line L, and line L is a perpendicular bisector for this line segment, and the same is true for the line segment from B to B prime. Line L is a perpendicular bisector for this line segment. All right, let's take a look at a second example here. We see we have another triangle ABC, and we're going to reflect it across this line, and parts of the triangle are on both sides, right? So when this happens, just the points that are to the left of the line are going to end up on the right of the line, and the points that are to the right of the line are going to end up to the left. And we're going to go ahead and do this by making our right angles. So let's go ahead and start with point A. I'm going to turn this way. Again, I'm just going to use the markings on the edge of this protractor to give me my perpendicular line. Line up the points and draw my line segment. Now I need to figure out where A prime is going to be so I can count the grid markings again. So here's where the intersection point is. To get from A to this point, I'm moving down 1 and to the right 3. So if I do that again, down 1 and to the right 3, and here is the location of A prime. Let's go ahead and measure with our protractor just to make sure that this is a perpendicular line, and there it is. It is a perpendicular line. Perfect. So let's go ahead and do the same thing with point B. So line up and make sure it's perpendicular, and then line up with point B and draw my line. All right. Again, this is perpendicular here. Perfect. So now I need to again count to figure out where B prime is going to end up. Here's my intersection point. And if I'm going to go again, I'm going to count, go down 1 and to the right 3. So I'm going to do that again. Down 1 and right 3. And here is the location of B prime. So that's working out perfectly. And now we need to go ahead and reflect C in the opposite direction. So I'm going to turn it this way. Get my marking for the perpendicular line here. Line up the edges and draw my line. And so there is my perpendicular line. And again, to get from C to this point right here, I had to move up 1 and to the left 3. So I'm going to do that again. Up 1 and to the left 3. And there is C prime. And now I just have to connect the points together. So we're going to connect here A prime and B prime. And connect A prime to C prime. And B prime to C prime. And so there we go. We've reflected triangle ABC across this line. Remember that reflections are a mirror-like image. They're symmetrical. So if I kind of turn this way, you can see that we end up with a nice symmetrical design. Okay, I hope that this video helped you to understand how to reflect images across a slanted line.